Welcome back, everybody. Tomorrow is National Chocolate Day.
Can you imagine a life without chocolate?
Here with some fascinating history about it is Dave Borgasani of American Heritage Chocolate, which is a division of Mars, which I didn't really realize. I don't think, Karen, do we know this?
I know. You know what? I'm just learning during the commercial break about American Heritage Chocolate that there's actually a team of historians that sought out how to make a chocolate that would taste like maybe it would have in the beginning of time when we started enjoying it.
Yeah, and Karen, that's exactly what the process was. So about 2006, one of our owners, Forrest E. Mars Jr., partnered with several historic sites like Colonial Williamsburg and Fort Ticonderoga in New York, educators at the University of California in Davis, and developed a team called the Colonial Chocolate Society to research the history of chocolate.
Are you a chocolatologist?
I'm just a chocolate historian.
Oh, okay.
But actually, you graduated with a degree in history.
I did.
But your passion is actually putting the historic knowledge toward chocolate, so we do it the way they used to.
Absolutely. So this historic division of Mars Chocolate, and by the way, we've been around for over 100 years. We know chocolate. So we actually created this very artisanal, authentic recipe chocolate based upon spices that would have been added to chocolate back in the 1700s. And actually the result of that was 45 authors produced this great big book over here called Chocolate, Culture, and Heritage, which tells you everything you'd want to know about chocolate.
That's incredible.
Where did it start?
So go back about 3,500 years ago to the jungles in South America.
See?
Yep.
It's part of our DNA. We're meant to eat it.
An ancient Indian tribe called the Olmecs actually first documented the use of chocolate. They took cocoa pods like this here and actually engraved them into some of their pottery and their artwork to show people that they actually used it. And then from there, folks like the Mayans and then the Aztecs improved the process for farming cocoa as well as making it into this delicious drink.
So that's literally how chocolate starts in those pods?
This is a cocoa pod?
It does. So these are replica pods, but you know something that's different about the beans, right? What's different about the beans?
They're white.
They're white, and you'd expect them to be brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is this?
In the field, they actually go through a couple of different processes, one called fermentation and the second called drying, to actually start changing the color as well as the flavor of the beans. And finally, the beans would be shipped to the point where they would be roasted. Now, here we have some actual roasted cocoa beans that would have been then ground up into little nibs, the shells removed. And then in early American chocolate making, what chocolate makers would do is flavor their chocolate using different spices that were available to the chocolate makers, like you see over there.
Okay.
Now,
so these are like nutmeg and chili peppers, orange peel, salt, which is actually a trendy thing now, but that's actually how they used to do it back then. They would add
salt to everything, right?
Okay.
So mostly salt was used as a preservative, but again, people flavored food, and chocolate was no exception. So you get these great flavors, some of which come from modern-day Central America and Mexico.
So does natural chocolate have flavor? Or is it just...
It's like bitter, right? Without anything?
It does have a flavor?
Yeah.
But what could you describe it?
It's just a very bitter, very unique flavor, right?
Like so, if you put just the cocoa on your tongue, like, with nothing
that's
in
what
it.
Tastes.
Right. Yeah. But you've developed it so we can have, like they had back in the 1700s, you have, we can actually buy American Heritage historic chocolate and make our own chocolate drinks?
Yeah, we're actually sold at over 200 historic sites throughout the country.
Oh, isn't that great?
It's a wonderful way to actually go to the sites and tell this fantastic story of the history of chocolate, along with letting people take a piece of history home with them so that at home they can actually go ahead and make their own history.
How do they make it?
Everybody has a chocolate story. I bet each one of us has their own chocolate story,
Sarah has one
too.
a day.
Yeah. I have a good chocolate story every day around this time. How do we make it?
Well, so what people would do back in early American times is they would take a block of now spiced chocolate, they would grate it into a fine powder, and then they would use their chocolate pot like this, which would often contain water. They could have added dairy. They certainly could have added different things like port or brandy, and then using a molinillo like this, literally stir their chocolate into a nice frothy drink.
Oh, how awesome is that?
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And do you have a little sample there?
I sure do. So why don't we all try a little sample of...
I couldn't. All right.
I mean, how could we indulge in advance of National Chocolate? It smells amazing.
So what do you think? What are you tasting?
I taste cinnamon. I taste chocolate. It's thick. It's rich. This is like,
I taste deliciousness.
Yeah.
So what you're tasting, what you're drinking is chocolate, because for thousands of years, people drank chocolate. We didn't actually start eating chocolate.
Why did they stop?
Well, we haven't really stopped, and you don't have to stop either. But what they did do is technology got the best of us, and we started being able to actually make chocolate into a solid form like we enjoy today.
That's so clever.
But that wasn't until really the middle to the late 1800s.
Well, let's go back to drinking it. Cheers.
Absolutely.
This is really
Cheers.
nice.
Well,
Thank you so
for being
much.
with us.